I grew up in a family that considers optimism to be a virtue, especially my dad. When he was in fifth grade, he kept his old speech on the importance of optimism. He still repeats the opening phrase despite our annoyance whenever relevant. Think the best, expect the best. So my whole life, I always consider myself an optimist. I was raised in an environment that promoted optimism and convinced me that I was one. Whenever prompted, I said the class was helpful and that yes, I would turn life's lemons into lemonade. But it wasn't until I reached the 7th grade that I started to realize my actions didn't reflect the mindset I was projecting. Whenever I would get a bad grade, I was thinking I would do better next time. Instead, I was stuck in a place where all I could think about was how my average is going to fall and I wouldn't be able to get it back up again. And this frame of mind repeated itself. In everything from my relationships to my extracurriculars, it seemed I could find a negative in everything I participated in. Everything about me was becoming more noticeably cynical and negative. Any small inconvenience became the bane of my existence and worst thing conceivable until another small problem occurred. And even worse, I found myself focusing on the negatives more and more than the positives. After a while, I wasn't even sure what it meant to be an optimist anymore. After all, my whole life I had believed and proclaimed that I was one. But now I realized I hadn't really practiced this characteristic that I still claimed to value, and it was becoming more and more evident through my actions. And I started to think, what does it mean to be an optimist? Optimism is a hopefulness and confidence about the future or the successful outcome of the situation. The trait is often used as a synonym for happiness, but that's not really true. You don't always have to be happy to be an optimist, and being an optimist doesn't always mean to be happy, though these two are closely related. Optimism is more than just being positive, it's having a bright outlook on your future and striving to do whatever you can to make your situation better. You can be upset and realize what's going wrong, but still believe that it will get better, that you can make your situation better. And if that's the case, if optimists are more willing to better their situation and believe they can achieve that if they take action to face it, that generally makes them more successful in life. A study by Harvard Business Review found optimists are usually more confident, more committed, and more inclined to work hard to reach their goals. They are the ones that the farthest in life and usually end up the most content. So we should all want to be optimists, right? But the fact is, we aren't. Is that because we choose not to be, or just because we don't just have it in us? Is it a choice or an inherent characteristic? What makes someone an optimist in the first place? It turns out it's a mixture of a few different concepts. The first one we usually jump to is environment, and this makes sense why. We know the way we raise makes us more inclined to behave one way or another. If you're raised in an environment that's more positive and open, you're more likely to reflect those characteristics. If you're raised in a dysfunctional home, optimism may not be a frame of mind. But it's not the end-all be-all. Genetics also plays a role in whether you are an optimist or a pessimist. A study by King's College found that the genetic material on a specific receptor gene can actually influence these traits. The material that is received indicates whether or not you will be more naturally positive or negative. But the study concluded that genetics only accounts for a small portion of what makes someone an optimist. It turns out that the main and dominant factor of optimism is your individual choice. Research confirms that you get to choose your response in any situation and how it will affect you from there. You get to choose whether or not to be positive or negative in a given scenario, overriding any predetermined causes from the environment to genetics or anything else. You aren't attached to the natural inclination of optimism or pessimism that you have from birth. Optimism can be a learned trait. Focusing on the positive and working to better yourself and your situation can make you an optimist, even if you're naturally more negative. And the choice of optimism is an important one to make. Why give up on the success that comes with being an optimist because you experience hardships? Optimism is an incredibly beneficial tool. It's not just seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. It's an intentional decision to face the negatives in your life and to move on from there. It is okay to falter. I still find myself focusing on everything that's gone wrong, and it's hard not to. But the difference is that I realize I can make the conscious choice to recognize the negatives but find the positive solution in any given conflict. If you can reframe your perspective, the rest follows, and it's hard to realize that. But the next time you find yourself stuck in negativity, remember that in the end, you get to choose your response in that situation. Being an optimist means that even if everything falls apart, we can focus on how we're going to pick it back up again. Thank you.